Hi. So this weekend I participated in an MLH hackathon. I've participated in quite a few and won quite a few as well. Um, but I think this hackathon was something that I learned a lot. So this is the one that I participated this weekend, last weekend rather. Let me show you. Okay, so another thing is that Wix takes a lot of time to load because there's a lot of features and it's very heavy. It's a heavy site. Your backend, your front end, your hosting, basically everything is in Wix itself, and it has a lot of pre-built apps and features as well. So that's probably why. So as you can see, this part is the Velo part, right? The more Velo you have, the more you are applicable for the price. So nearest gym, okay, so as you can see, it's all button. So here, see, this is actually just a component where I can change animation, and this has the animation URL. You just paste the URL you want, and that's simple as that, right? Over here, export functions. Okay, so this was the function that I use. You just have to create a button and then just put on click, right? You get a function, and you have to, I used the fetch, okay? I used fetch to run this Twilio function, okay? And gave the phone number, which is the input from here, the latitude, longitude, which you can use the Wix window to get the current geolocation, and that would actually send these as parameters to the Wix, to the Twilio function. So let me just show you that as well. So for Twilio, I use WhatsApp. I use WhatsApp a lot because that's the easiest. That's something I use a lot. So that was easy. And since I don't know whether if SMS is allowed here, because I mean, I think it's really costly because I am based in Sri Lanka, and the sandbox, or rather the numbers that I can get is in the States. Like, there are no Lankan numbers in Twilio. So if I'm buying a number, I have to use that number, and then it gets really costly. So, and WhatsApp is something that we all use mostly. So yeah. So you have to have the Twilio console, which has, okay, so this is Twilio Studio. I usually like to use Twilio Studio because Twilio Studio is very easy to configure. Like, it allows to run functions as well, but this time I did not use Twilio Studio. I use Twilio Functions, which is also like really easy. Like, if you want like a whole conversation flow, Twilio Studio is to go. But if you just want a function to run like every time, then you can use functions, right? So have a function, have a service. So for each hackathon, I have different services, and yeah, run it like that. So nearest gym, this was the code. This was the code. Basically, get the latitude, longitude. Use Axios, so you have to put that as a dependency. Use Axios to use the Google Maps API and use your API key. Use your API key to get the results. Yeah, and then send that message to WhatsApp, and you get it. Simple as that, right? The other thing the link of this would be, I copy URL over here, and yeah, I go over here and I use that link as the API request, right? So this is that link, and all the parameters that I'm getting from the site, I send it like this. Okay, so that's how fetch works. Use HTTP responses, promise, and you're good to go. So that's this part. Yeah, that's this part, right? The next page is the exercise suggestions. So for this, here's the thing. If you are creating components dynamically, it's really hard on Wix. I've not figured that out by myself. So what you can do is you can embed HTML. Okay, so this is basically an embedded code, right? So if you see, this is actually a replit file. If you go to the replit file, which is over here, and if you run it, it's basically the same response, right? So this replit file is a HTML which has JavaScript and CSS for the styling. So I can just like add what muscle I want to work out, and it gives the result. So for this, I use APIs to get the input and then get the different exercises I can work on, right? So building this, I think I use a bit of Tailwind, not much, just a bit, because it doesn't look that good, but it kind of covers it. So another thing I would suggest is using Rapid API. In one of the hackathons that I participated, we did not entirely submit a project, but I remember the partner who I was participating, he said, use Rapid API. And I was like, that was my first time ever hearing about Rapid API and API as itself, right? But it stuck to me, where at the end he said like, use Rapid API. I was like, okay, what is Rapid API? I thought it's this huge concept that I have to master first what is API and then use Rapid API. But it stuck with me. So later on, I just like, okay, what is Rapid API? And just go through the different documentation. Basically, you can take any category. So let's say this time the hackathon theme was fitness, right? So basically go to any category, health and fitness, and it has a bunch of APIs. Like literally all these are health and fitness. So there's so many you can choose from, and get the API and implement it in your project. That's simple as that, right? You can just get this API and see how it works. As you have to subscribe, which doesn't take, you should have a credit card, but it doesn't charge you. So you have to use these already the code. You can choose what language fits for you. I go with Node.js because that's you can use for that application, but you can use they already have the pre-made code. You just copy the code. You can see how the example, you can test the endpoints. For that you should put these details, and you will get how the result is, basically everything. It's amazing resources. So if you want your application to have extra features, just go to the API and see what are some APIs available. I think there's Fast API and all of it, but I go to Rapid API just because it's very simple. It has a lot of resources and plenty to choose from, right? So what was I saying? Yeah. So that is about Rapid API. You can, whatever project you're going to build, just see, okay, what are some APIs out there, choose those APIs and start using. That would actually give additional features for your project, The next thing is Calorie Burn. So this was something that took a lot of time. So because I have to enter the calories that I want to burn and then add the phone number and then sign up. Okay. So here what I did was, once you enter the phone number, it actually sends a message saying you're subscribed, you're entering this service. So once a phone number, you can put your calorie goals. I also made a database which has the list of users, and for each user the calorie count. So you should have a database, and you should also have it open to public, right? Because then only you can add in. You can change the privacy, but for the sake of this hackathon, I made it public so that anyone can add it. And then I used Velo to add the data. Once anything that was sent on WhatsApp, the data sent on WhatsApp can be directly added over here to this database. So that means I had to expose this HTTP function. So for that was the bit of, I'll say, challenging part, because this was basically sending Twilio. So you need to save your auth code, account SID, phone number as one of in the Twilio secret manager, okay, secret backend, and then this basically sends the message that you're subscribed. HTTP functions are basically, you see each function, which is basically put, post, get, delete, I think. Those are the functions. But yeah, so there's calorie count. So this is the ID of the database, right? Again, once this function is called, it adds the data, deletes the data, updates the data, or reads the data. So the functions for that. And job config is basically, since it's a weekly thing, okay, since it's a weekly goal, every 7 days it should reset, right? So then again, reset for that, right? It resets everything. Yeah, so that's so if you can see, these are things that I needed to implement everything from scratch. So that's what makes using Velo actually helps make the website as creative as you want it to be, right? It doesn't restrict to the available applications that is there on Velo. So you must be wondering, okay, how can I use Twilio in this? Basically, it has code packages, and I got the Twilio package. It has the npm, the whole npm package library that you want. You can get any of these, okay, and start using it. Simple as that, right? So when it comes to Twilio, this was a bit challenging because I had to expose the database, get the database, and then get the calorie count and stuff like that. I wanted to implement it in a better way. Over here you can see it just says your calorie count has increased, but I wanted to say the total calorie for this week is a difference of the calories and all of that, but I did not have time, so I skipped that part. So maybe I need to work on that as well. But yeah, that was about using Twilio. So for this, I had to get the Cohere AI. Okay, so here's another thing. So when the user says whether if it's a food or an activity, okay, the system should understand whether if it's a food or an activity. So for that, I use Cohere. This was my first time. I was wondering, okay, how can I differentiate it being from a food or an activity, whether to increase or reduce the calorie? So then I was thinking, okay, I went to ChatGPT and I asked, okay, how do I find it? They gave me a couple of options, and I was like, okay, let me use NLP. let me build my first machine learning model. So I went to Cohere. I reached out to on their Discord channel. Here's another thing: if you are trying out a new technology, see whether they have a Discord channel. They probably will, and if they have a Discord channel, ask help from there. Or if you are in MLH, the community MLH is great. You can just go and ask for the help from the community itself. So I built my first model. So it's food or activity. I put in a set of data sets. It's not really great, the precision and everything, but it did work to a large extent. Like I did not get any problem in it not working. And then I think you can export the code somewhere. Yeah, you can use Node.js to export the code, and you can start using it. Simple as that. And I think I added that code over here, somewhere over here. So I ran each as functions. So I think. Yeah, this is the one. I use Cohere to get it started and write the code. Yeah, that was it. I think this project I learned a lot. I had always been reluctant to use machine learning, or I rather knew I should, but I never got the pressing circumstance to actually use it. So this time I actually did use it. So that was a really good thing. I think I spoke about that in my dev post as well. I used integrating Twilio, Cohere, NLP, machine learning, all of it. It was a great hack. It was a great thing, even though I'm saying myself. But it was a wonderful experience because I had to actually give it a try. And I did it all by myself. So a lot of satisfaction. It gives you a lot of satisfaction. But the downside is you don't have anyone to celebrate it with. Because if you do it as a team, you have your entire team to celebrate and talk about, okay, these were your ups, these were your downs, and all of it. But yeah, I think this was a good project.